Hi, this is Stephen with Fairs Management Interactive, better known as Fairs MI. And here are some tips for those who are already familiar with the planner tools. Our first tip concerns when our event planners often contain some elements that we don't want to include on the Excel spreadsheet exhibitor list. Clicking on the layer turns it blue and makes it active. When you click the Reports button, only the objects on that layer will be included in the exhibitor spreadsheet. Here you can see we have two different pods, booths and tables, on the same layer. And we will assume that we don't want the table rounds included in our exhibitor list. So we'll begin by creating another layer so that we can move the tables onto the new layer. But first we should relabel that original untitled layer by double-clicking on it. On the Layers tool, click the plus sign to make a new layer. Click the new layer to make it active. Click the group of tabletops, or pod as we call them. Go to the Move icon on your Layers tool control and check the layers you want to move the tables to. Typically, I click the visibility on the layers involved on and off just to make sure it's as I intended. You can also move a selection of objects from within a pod. Here I'm going to move just the food service tables out of the booth layer and onto our new layer. I go ahead and move the booth pod just to confirm that the food tables are no longer part of that pod. Another similar strategy would be if you've laid out a maximum setup of tabletops or booths, but you want to hold back a certain amount until the initial layout is sold out. So we will add another layer and move that portion of the tables over to a layer we will temporarily hide. So as you can see, I'm clicking the tables I want to hold back and moving them to the new layer we created. You can generate separate spreadsheets by clicking on different layers to make them active. Okay, well, let's move on to the next tip. When you click the arrow keys on your keyboard, the object you've clicked on moves exactly 1 foot per click. But what if you need to move something less than that, 6 inches or even 3 inches? This is when you go over to that Customization tool panel on the right, and then go to the Arrange tab. And down where it says Position, there's left and top boxes, and you either add or subtract from that number to move the object. For example, adding or subtracting by 0.5 would move it 6 inches, and adding or subtracting by 0.25 would move it 3 inches. This works for any object, selection of objects, or an entire pod can be adjusted by inches. The last tip concerns measuring between objects, even if it's on an angle. And with this method, it especially applies to when you need to confirm a required minimum distance of separation between objects. This method uses a circle shape with a diameter equal to the separation distance required. In this case, I'm going to duplicate an existing object by clicking on it and using my Ctrl-D keyboard command. I go to the Icon tool, find the circle, hold my Shift key down and click the circle icon to convert the table to the circle shape, and I relabel it with an X to show that it is a temporary object. After resizing the circle to the minimum clearance that's required, I can drag the circle between any two objects, and regardless of the angle, I can confirm that the proper clearance has been created. There are instances where I may be using several measurement spacers, and I'll create a layer dedicated to temporary measurement and spacing objects. This is useful because I can choose to delete the entire layer later, or more often just hide that layer when printing or presenting the plan. Well, that's my 3 tips for this week. Contact me with any questions you have and let me know if you'd like your questions answered as a video or if you would prefer a one-on-one shared screen learning session. Thanks again so much from Fairs Management Interactive.